Well, hello once again. This is me, Leonard Wells, broadcasting as usual from HASLINGDEN, 30 miles or 50 kilometres due north of Manchester in the UK, on Friday the 23rd of September 2011. Very difficult, don't you think, to stay cheerful with the continuous bombarding of bad news from every orifice of the media. I mean, if you listen to the BBC, we're doomed. The economic situation is, it's the pits. It's worse than the Second World War. Well, it doesn't help to be gloomy. Anyway, what I'm going to talk about this morning, not long ago, the idea of bringing back capital punishment, i.e. hanging in this country, received a great deal of support on one of the government's e-petition websites. And I think it was one of the newspapers, maybe the Daily Express, was all in favour of bringing it back. And a great many people were all dancing in the aisles saying what a great idea it is. Well, yesterday in America, a man called Troy Davis, I think he was 44, was executed by lethal injection, strapped, as they say in America, to a gurney, to a stretcher, and the relatives of the victim were watching through a glass partition as injections were pumped into his arm, lethal injections. And they weren't allowed to see the last seconds. The curtains were then closed. But what an awful, awful, awful indictment of the whole business of capital punishment. That this man had spent 22 years on what they call death row. 22 years he had declared he was innocent. Court after court heard his pleas. Appeal courts heard his pleas. All the way to the Supreme Court in America. It must have cost millions. Now, from his point of view, this, to my mind, is what in America would be called cruel and unusual punishment. And it's against the Constitution of the United States to have such forms of punishment. I believe the French guillotine would not be permitted in America on that basis. And that may be why they got rid of the gas chamber, because it was considered cruel and unusual. And the electric chair, however barbaric that might seem. And hanging. Whoever thought of the idea of hanging people? People can be very nasty towards each other, you know. Well, what I'm coming to is, the problem with capital punishment is that you can never be 100% certain, even if a man confesses, that he was 100% guilty. Because with this DNA testing and all these modern techniques, it is possible to prove, even years after the event, that the guy was innocent. And then what do you do? And isn't it awful that you can watch somebody being killed? Isn't it strange how people have the ability to do that? I couldn't do that, I don't know about you. I find it difficult enough to look at corpses. My grandfather was an undertaker and I've seen dead bodies, and it's not pleasant. There's no joy in it. And believe me, there is no joy, real, inner joy, about seeing somebody executed because you like the idea, because you think maybe what they did was awful and they should be hung for it. Well, that's our point of view. My point of view, I always take these things from the good book, is that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And when these people get to the next world, whatever their crimes, whatever our crimes, because we've all got to die and we will all be judged. And you can't run away from it. None of us can. We will be judged by a totally impartial judge. Everything we have done, said or thought is written down and will be gone through. So before we go howling that somebody else should be executed for a certain crime, however much on the face of it might be deserved, we've got to be very careful. And look at what Christ said, the best advice ever given on this subject. Judge not, that ye be not judged. In other words, if you don't judge other people, they won't judge you, and you will not be judged in the next world for joining the brouhaha to bring about somebody's death. So, when you see what goes on in America, similar things would happen here. We would have the same kind of charade going on here. So that's my point of view. It's only right, proper, fair and just that everybody should have their say. But at the end of the day, would we like to be judged by other people in the same way that we judge them? We've got to be very careful about how we think about these things. Taking somebody's life. And this is the other point about capital punishment is, it's all very well wanting to bring it back, as long as we don't have to do the executing ourselves, pulling the lever so somebody drops down and is hung in prison, or pressing a switch or pushing a button and somebody receives a lethal injection. I wonder how many of those 100,000 people who rushed to sign the petition to bring back hanging would be happy to press the button. Well, I don't know. That's my view. God bless, while it's still legal in the UK to say God bless. Take care. Bye for now.